In this video we'll be discussing one a lot of you have been waiting for. Avalanche, a comfortable top 15 crypto project, which by the way you wouldn't think is the case given its lack of dialogue in mainstream crypto. But regardless, I think it'd be foolish to not have an opinion on AVAX. It's still not too late to determine if you'll be long or fading this thing. I hope the information provided in this video can help you come to that decision, where you'll also be seeing mine in a second. Make sure you're subscribed because we post this type of content often and aren't just covering daily crypto news like most of these creators. This cycle could be the most important AVAX will ever have. It'll determine if Avalanche is here for the long haul or inevitably going to zero. I think it's clear by now that Avalanche isn't exactly going to be one of the major blockchains per se. I talked about this idea a long time ago, how these days you can't just be a generic L1 expecting people to build on you. ETH has obviously always had that position on lock. It seems Sol has joined it. We are now seeing new L1s like the Move Duo trying to be that. But in my humble opinion, I think to be successful as an L1 going forward you have to be niche. You need to be a hub for one thing in particular, maybe two. The improvement ETH is on Bitcoin, and the improvement Sol is on ETH. I think ends there. The Sui blockchain is fantastic, I think sometimes even better to use than Sol, but the improvement over Sol is not enough to incentivize moving away from it. Polygon, I believe, is a victim of this with their we do everything approach, never quite getting an edge on anything, and being in the position they are today. Avalanche, on the other hand, still has their head over water, doubling down, and possibly consuming the biggest niche of them all, being gaming. It may not be to the extent that IMX's, but it's clear this whole having your own subnet thing is quite appealing to studios. We're talking about the likes of NeoWiz, a Korean game publisher partnering with Ava Labs, Solid Games launching a subnet with the release of Legends at War, Dose Labs building a subnet for different gaming studios, RuneSeeker, the International Chess Federation, Japanese mega company GRI running nodes, TSM with Blitz, MapleStory creating their own subnet, the launch of Shrapnel, and possibly the biggest one being Gunzilla Games and their launch of Off the Grid. This gaming chain race has been heated, and many who once claimed this title like Polygon and Clayton and even Sol are clearly lagging behind, with the leaders being IMX, Ronin, and of course Avalanche. There has been a ton of dialogue on how this accrues value to the AVAX token, but honestly, with how rough it's going right now with L1s from last cycle, you can figure those things out later. So does Avalanche have a narrative this cycle? I think so. Moving on to the charts. For AVAX to match its previous all-time high of 147, it would need a market cap of 55 billion, which would be almost 2 times more than its previous market cap of 30 billion. So dilution throughout the bear may not be as bad as other crypto, but it's also something that cannot be ignored during our price analysis of where this thing will top this cycle. It had put up an aggressive 650% run from that October to March time period, but since then has pulled back quite a bit. But I do think this price action is quite healthy. AVAX was able to test both its 3-month and monthly hold levels, which it was always going to substantially reject from. I am glad, however, we got that test over with on this first run up, as the next time we get there it'll have a better chance of breaking through. A lot of high-profile accounts were calling for a $100 AVAX this run, but I thought that was too much of an ask because of once again these hold levels, but also because of our FID retracements, as this is the zone where the 382, 5, and 618 all come in. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Since this top we've corrected as much as 55%. That is a brutal hit, but still totally normal. Here's a tip. For whatever altcoins you're interested in buying right now, make sure they're currently holding that 50% drawdown level. If not, then maybe that altcoin isn't worth buying. So with Avalanche, it topped at 65, where its 50% drawdown level would be around 32. Although it wicked under that, there were no closes and is currently well over that. Another thing some are bringing up is the similarity in price action between Solana and Avalanche. And I can see why some would be saying that. The two have sort of been running in tandem. Both started their aggressive move up during the week of October 16th, and since then have been similar in drawdowns and pump-ups, but obviously with AVAX taking a bigger hit on those drawdowns. So keeping an eye on that Sol AVAX parity could be an edge as this bull develops, as with more liquidity coming in. Sol will probably be moving first, and that could help you anticipate an incoming AVAX move. Also, perhaps most importantly, we have the AVAX BTC chart, and it does seem that AVAX has finally begun a bullish trend against Bitcoin, printing its first weekly high, and what will likely be a comfortable higher low. This may not seem a big deal, but surprisingly a lot of altcoins are getting crushed against Bitcoin a lot worse than I would have maybe thought a year ago. So if all that is the case, alas, what do we think Avalanche will do this cycle? As stated, this zone between 60 and $100 is the critical zone for Avalanche this cycle. The most bullish thing of them all is we've already tested and rejected this zone. This is not a one-off thing. Almost every crypto chart has a similar zone, but most of which are still far away from even testing it for the first time. And although AVAX may not have penetrated as deep as it could have, this is still way better than not coming close at all. And why is that? Because in the second, third test around, that is when we likely get the breakthrough. For comparison, look at charts like HBAR and Cardano and ICP and Polkadot. We're still well a ways away from getting close to their zones. And so for AVAX, there's a strong likelihood that during the next market-wide push-up, Avalanche breaks through this zone. This is why I think AVAX gets to its previous all-time highs. From that point is when we determine if we break into price discovery or not. I can't say for sure right now because I can't predict the future, but I think there's a decent chance. If I had to say something, I think that yes, AVAX will get into price discovery and make new highs. Whether that's in the 200s or even 300s is yet to be determined. But if you got into AVAX near the lows of $10 to $15, that's around a 20x return. Not bad at all for as big a cap as AVAX. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Sign up to a crypto exchange with link in description for all your bull market trading needs, and you will see me in the next one.